The morning light slipped through the blinds, painting stripes across the kitchen floor. I made my coffee, the smell grounding me, and poured it into my favorite mug, the one I'd had since college. Routine was everything to me, precise, controlled, predictable. Life with Claire had always felt solid, at least that's what I told myself. I watched her move through the house with that effortless grace that made me think I'd married someone perfect. She smiled at me from across the kitchen, kissed me on the cheek and asked if I'd slept well. I said I had. Everything was fine. Everything always seemed fine. Noah appeared, rubbing sleep from his eyes. Breakfast first, homework later, I said, trying to keep my voice light but firm. He nodded, oblivious to the tension I didn't yet see. It was the kind of morning we'd had hundreds of times, the kind of morning that made me feel safe. By the time I got to work, the rhythm of numbers, spreadsheets, and client calls took over. I prided myself on noticing inconsistencies, small irregularities that everyone else overlooked. It was my skill, my edge, and yet a faint sense of unease had started to creep in, uninvited. Something about the day felt off. I couldn't put my finger on it. For now, I pushed it aside. My life, my marriage, my family, it all appeared perfect, predictable, safe. I needed to believe that. I had to. It was late evening when I noticed it. Claire's coat was draped over the back of a chair like always, her bag on the floor beside it. But then something caught my eye, a small delicate chain with a charm I didn't recognize, lying on the hallway table. At first I froze. My heart sank in a way I hadn't felt in years. That necklace, it wasn't hers. Claire was meticulous about her things. She never misplaced jewelry, she never left anything behind that didn't belong to her. I picked it up carefully, turning it over in my hands. The initials engraved on the back were unmistakable. SL, the name of someone I had never met. Someone who wasn't me. When Claire walked into the room smiling like nothing was wrong, I held the necklace up. I found this, I said slowly, trying to keep my voice steady. She glanced at it, her eyes flicking away for a fraction of a second too long. Then came the excuse, flimsy, rehearsed. Oh, I must have borrowed it from a friend. She said I could try it. But I could see the lie in her eyes. I didn't have to. My instincts, honed over years of careful observation, told me something was wrong, the way her hands trembled slightly when she set the coffee down. The almost imperceptible tension in her jaw. I swallowed hard, trying to mask the storm building inside me. I had a choice in that moment, confront her and risk losing control, or gather proof, methodically, silently. I chose the latter. I didn't say another word. I pocketed the necklace and began thinking about my next move. There were contacts I could call, tools I could access. If she was hiding something, I would find it, quietly, precisely, because I needed to know the truth, and when I found it, she wouldn't be able to hide it from me any longer. The rest of the evening passed like a carefully staged play. Claire moved through the apartment, pouring wine, rearranging cushions, humming softly, everything normal. Everything perfect. But I saw the cracks. Later, I asked casually, so, that necklace, who exactly is this friend? My tone was neutral, almost bored, but my eyes didn't leave her. She smiled, a little too quickly. Oh, just someone from work. I think she needed it back today. Her voice was steady, practiced. But the lie was sloppy in the little things she didn't control. The hesitation before she said work, the way she avoided looking directly at me, the faint scent of perfume in the air that wasn't hers. I felt a cold clarity settle in my chest. My mind, trained to notice discrepancies in ledgers, contracts, and human behavior, cataloged every detail. The time she left the house last Tuesday, the vague explanations, the missed calls she brushed off. None of it added up. I said nothing more. I smiled, raised my glass, and nodded like I believed her. Inside, though, something shifted. The world I had trusted, my home, my marriage, my life, was no longer certain. I spent the night awake, planning. I had to know. If she was lying about this, what else was she hiding? My professional instincts kicked in. Contacts I trusted, resources I could access, ways to track, to document. All of it started forming in my mind. I wasn't going to confront her yet, not until I had the truth in my hands. Quietly, carefully, I would peel back the layers of her deceit. And when I did, there would be no denying what she had done. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed beside Claire, pretending everything was normal while my mind raced. Every detail I'd noticed, The necklace, the faint perfume, the hesitation in her voice circulated in my head like evidence in a case I couldn't ignore. By morning I had made my decision. I wouldn't confront her, not yet. Confrontation without proof was a luxury I couldn't afford. I needed facts, cold, undeniable facts. I reached for my phone and called Marcus, a friend I'd known since college, someone I trusted with everything. He was discreet, precise, a man who could acquire information others couldn't. By the time our conversation ended, I had access to the tools I needed: discreet tracking, secure access to messages, ways to monitor activity without leaving a trace. I returned to the kitchen, poured myself a cup of coffee, and watched Claire move around, blissfully unaware that the foundation of our marriage was already cracking beneath her feet. I smiled politely, nodded at her stories about work, asked the usual questions about Noah's day. Inside, I was already steps ahead. I had a plan. I would gather proof methodically, documenting every lie, every secret meeting, every betrayal. Nothing would escape me. And when the truth was finally laid bare, I would hold it in my hands, and then everything would change. For now, I played the part of the oblivious husband. But behind the polite smile, the calm exterior, I was calculating, precise, unstoppable. Because I didn't just want to know, I wanted control, and nothing and no one would stand in my way. I met with a lawyer, discreetly, during hours when no one would see me. I didn't need confrontation yet. I needed protection. Marcus had helped me gather the essentials: financial statements, accounts, deeds. Every asset, every investment, every joint account. I cataloged it, secured it, prepared to separate it from the reach of betrayal. Even at home, I acted as though everything were normal. I asked Claire about her day, complimented her on dinner, laughed at Noah's jokes. But in the privacy of my office, I made arrangements, transferring funds, creating contingencies, making sure that if the day came when I had to walk away, I would do so with nothing left to chance. It wasn't anger that fueled me, it was clarity. The more I prepared, the calmer I became. The legal safety nets, the meticulous records, the contingency plans, they all gave me control. And control was everything. I wasn't just protecting assets, I was protecting my future, my peace, my sanity. Claire's lies had opened a chasm beneath our marriage, and I intended to cross it on my terms. Quietly, precisely, strategically. Every step I took was deliberate, every move calculated, and all the while I smiled, nodded, and played the part of the devoted husband. Because when the time came to reveal the truth, I would not only have the evidence, I would have power. The power to walk away without hesitation, the power to reclaim my life. Every day felt like walking a tightrope. Claire moved around the house as though nothing was wrong, laughing at jokes, asking about my day, making plans for the weekend. And I played the part of the loving husband flawlessly. I smiled when she leaned against me in the kitchen. I nodded and laughed at the stories she told. I helped Noah with his homework, asked polite questions about school, checked in with her parents. All the while my mind was elsewhere, watching, cataloging, analyzing. Evenings were the hardest. We would sit together, eat dinner, and she would talk about her day. I would nod, sip my wine, make small comments. But behind the polite facade, I was constructing timelines, cross-referencing messages, marking locations. Each detail fit into a growing mosaic of betrayal, and yet, I had to remain patient. One wrong move, one misstep, and she might suspect. I couldn't afford to act on emotion. My goal wasn't confrontation yet, it was certainty, evidence, proof so undeniable that when the time came there would be no escape. So I smiled, nodded, laughed when necessary, and asked mundane questions. I acted as though our marriage was intact, as though I trusted her completely. But beneath the surface, every fiber of me was alert, calculating, waiting. Because I knew that soon, very soon, the facade would crumble. And when it did, I would be ready, not angry, not vengeful, just precise. And she would finally see that the man she had deceived had already anticipated every step she had taken. It happened on a Thursday evening. Claire said she was meeting a friend for drinks, an innocuous excuse, routine even, but I had tracked her movements, followed the subtle breadcrumbs she left, and I already knew better. I parked a discreet distance from the hotel she entered, my camera ready. My heart didn't race. There was no thrill in this, no giddy anticipation, just calm, measured focus. I observed her through the lens as she slipped into a car, someone else's car, a man's car. I followed silently, noting every turn, every stop, and then, finally, the door opened and they stepped out together. I captured it all, the brush of her hand against his, the quick, nervous glances, the embrace she thought no one could see. The evidence was irrefutable. Back home, I reviewed the photos, zooming in, cataloging every moment, screenshots of messages, photos of meetings, receipts, all aligned perfectly with the timeline I had meticulously constructed. The truth wasn't just probable anymore, it was undeniable. I placed the evidence in a secure folder, separate from everything else. It wasn't just proof of her betrayal, it was power. The power to act decisively, to protect myself and Noah, to end the lie that had governed our lives, and in that moment, I realized something else. Nothing would ever be the same. Claire had crossed a line, and I had reached the point of no return. The game had changed. For the first time in weeks, I felt a quiet clarity. I knew exactly what I needed to do. The silent unraveling had succeeded. The next steps, preparation, exit, and rebuilding, would be mine to control entirely. I wasn't angry, not yet. I was ready. I didn't sleep much that week. Every movement, every decision was deliberate. I spent hours packing the things that mattered most, my laptop, the documents I'd safeguarded, photographs of Noah and me, a few personal keepsakes. Claire thought I was busy with work, stressed by deadlines. She had no idea that the life I'd quietly built outside these walls was ready to replace the one she had betrayed. I secured a new apartment, modest but private, away from prying eyes. The movers were discreet, instructed to deliver only during the hours she would be at work. Everything I valued was moved without a sound, without a trace. I reviewed the evidence again, the photos, the messages, the receipts, they all told the same story. I had it all, precise, undeniable, and ready to use if needed. But I didn't want confrontation, I wanted closure. I wanted to leave on my terms. I also prepared the package she would find, the divorce papers neatly stacked, the key piece of evidence tucked inside, and the necklace, the item that had started this unraveling, placed on top. It was symbolic, a final message that everything had been seen, everything understood. All that remained was patience, timing. I would leave when it was perfect, when no one could stop me. No arguments, no excuses, no lies left to hide behind. And as I lay in bed that night, watching Claire sleep beside me, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks, calm. The plan was in motion, precise, unshakable. I was ready to take the next step, because when morning came, she would wake to the truth, and I would be gone. I left before sunrise. The apartment was quiet, the only sound my footsteps against the floor. I placed the package on the kitchen table, divorce papers, the evidence, the necklace, the item that had started it all. I didn't wait for her. I didn't say a word. By the time Claire woke, I was already gone, my phone off, no forwarding address. The house felt heavier in my absence. I didn't look back. I couldn't.